everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joy Evans.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee, dramatic tension.
Oh, I was like, what's he going to say? I was so excited.
Shake, shake, shake.
Very much a
Shake,
letdown.
shake, shake.
It
Shake
was.
that city.
So Shake That City.
Shake that city.
No. When I was first shown this game, the whole point of Shake That City was the little device that you shake and it drops cubes out.
Perfectly.
And they explained the game to me, and the only thing I remembered was the device that dropped cubes out.
Yep.
And they were, well, that was because while they were explaining the game to me, I was just playing with it and dropping cubes.
Oh, so
I was like,
nice.
it works so well.
But you have to do it right. You have to push it in, let it go, then lift it.
Yes.
If you lift too soon, it'll just all fall out.
That is true.
I will show you. In this game, each player is going to get their city grid. You can play on one side or the other. There's different scoring methods, but everyone plays with the same board. In fact, everyone's going to put these bonus tiles on them. One person does it randomly, and everyone copies it, and everyone is the same way. So if I'm sitting this way, the person who's sitting over there on the table will have their board tilted so that it matches, so that the gray tile that's here will also be on their board facing the same direction. And that matters because of this. This is full of cubes, and each round of the game, and there are 15 rounds, one person goes first, and that person will push this in like this, and then lift it up, and it's going to drop out 9 cubes randomly. Now, so if it's my turn, I'm going to pick one of those colors. So for example, let's say I pick green. Everyone else has to pick a different color. I need to put these tiles out somewhere on my board. So I can put a green here, and a green there. See, it's in the same relative position. I can do that pretty much anywhere. I can't rotate it. I can't change anything else about it. Everyone else has to use a different color. They can use the same ones. The only restriction is they can't use the same one as me. So maybe next time then someone else picks red. I'm like, alrighty, I'll go with the black tiles. And so I'm going to place one here, and one there. And you can place stuff wherever you want as long as it fits. If you can't fit a certain color in, then you can't place that color. In the last 3 rounds of the game, 13, 14, and 15, you're not restricted by the first player's pick of color. You can pick their color also. As the game goes by, if you finish either thing on one of these rows, you get to flip it over. So this says if I have 4 gray roads in this one, I can flip it over, or if all 6 of these are done. So see, here, for example, all 6 of these, so I turn this over, worth 3 points at the end of the game. Here, there's 4 reds in this row, so I could turn that one over. Doesn't look like I got any of the other ones. This one here, you'd have to have 2 of each of the different types. Oh, that one looks like it's done also. Then each of these is going to score differently. Now, they score slightly differently on the other side of the board here, but I'm just going to explain this side, and then you can look at the differences later on. Roads give you points, 1 point, as long as they reach the outside. So a point, point, because these all connect to the outside. These 2 do not, so they don't score any points. Houses give you 2 points for each group. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though that group's huge, it's still only 2 points. Shops give you points if they're connected to the road outside. This one's connected, this one's connected, this one's connected. So those are all going to be worth points, and they get points based on what zone they're in. 3 if they're in the gray zone, 2 in the brown zone, and 1 if they're in the green zone. Factories can give you 2 points. They get you 1 point if they're next to another factory. So all 3 of these are going to score a point for that. This one's worth 2 points because it's also next to a road. And parks are the same thing, but they're trying to be next to factories and homes. So this park is next to a factory and a home, so it's going to score 2 points. This one's next to just a home, so that's 1 point. Next to a home, that's 1 point. You can also play a simpler version of the game. So if you play a simpler version, you score only these bonus point tiles. You ignore the normal ways of scoring. Or you could play a slightly more advanced with a construction variant, where there's some construction tiles you need to remove that are placed on the board. But before we go one more time, let's shake that city. Ooh, isn't that neat? That one didn't come out as well, but that's because I didn't shake the city. Also, I didn't refill it with cubes. I probably should do that. But it works really well. It does take you a bit of time to put this thing together, but just wanted to show that off. it's really hard to talk about Shake That City without talking about the device that comes with it.
Right.
And it is my opinion that if the device did not exist, neither would the game. But how hard you build it twice. How hard was it to build?
It's not. So it has all the arrows in the right direction, and the instructions show exactly how you lay it. So it was not complicated.
And I've messed with it a lot. It works really well. Sometimes these devices that drop stuff on the table or whatever don't work as well as you're like, do this and 3 cubes will come out and 2 cubes come out every once in a while. You're like, this one works, I thought, really well.
It works really well, at the point to where you have grown men giggle when you go, oh, let me try that. It just comes down to perfect little square. Oh, maybe just me. It probably is just me. I'm a simple man, but it's really nice. You just go, look at that. It looks good. And it works better than I thought it would.
It does. It also functions, I think, well as like a first player, rite of passage.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that gets to click it, right? And then it keeps track of the turns really well. Because everybody wants to play with it.
Yeah,
I want to
that's
play with
true.
it right now. Open up the box, Vassal.
I don't feel like it's too gimmicky. Like, it has a purpose. It's not just there for the sake of, hey, this is a fun toy to play with, Joey.
Right. Yes.
Like, I
It
feel
was
like
You could have rolled 9
it has
dice.
a purpose. You could have, and you could have laid them all in a cube order, and you could have,
So much
In a
quicker.
boggle tray or something,
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
it saves time.
Well, once you take a device out, this is a game about putting tiles on a board and scoring them in various ways, similar to Quadropolis and a myriad of other games.
City building games tend to
Yes.
have this. These score benefits if next to this. This one scores nothing if next to that. There's a little bit on the map, for how they score. Lots
Some
of
rows and
building
columns
tropes.
with
I always thought
things,
Tiny
yeah.
Towns, but I think Quadropolis is probably better. Yeah, but Tiny Towns I feel like it's too.
I think that part of the game is incredibly mundane and boring for a couple reasons. One, almost everything scores 0, 1, or 2 points. It's just not that. I don't know. I mean, the best thing is, I guess, the one that it gets 3 points when it's in the middle of the board.
The blues.
The
Oh,
blues.
yeah.
You connect them by roads. And it's fine. I don't mind it, but it's just not particularly exciting. And then that couples with the device, so you get it, and you're like, what color do I pick? So at the beginning of the game, you think, I'll take the one that has 4 cubes, which is probably not a bad choice to take, but after a while, you're taking the ones that will score you points. I just find that part to be almost mind-numbing, like, okay, I can put that there, I can put that there, I can put that there and get points, and none of it is interesting to me.
So just those first turns you're saying is not interesting?
From turns 1 to 15, I'm not interested
Okay, well,
in putting stuff out.
It's 15 turns long.
No, but
Yeah.
well, I guess at 1, I'm like, ooh, I put out a bunch, because if I'm first, right? If you're not first and there's 4 reds and all the rest are 1 of or something, and the person goes first picks 4 reds, I'm like, I guess I'm taking a single tile. It's not that interesting at all.
there's
That
so
part.
many moments where I want that single tile, though. So
Not on turn 1.
I thought, well, not
No.
turn 1. Turn 1 is like, whatever happens, whatever
This
happens.
game has a
It sets
huge
you up.
first player advantage, I think. I'm kidding, it's not huge.
I was like,
Oh, okay. I was.
But it does. But I think there is a first player advantage. By the person who goes first, everyone else gets 1 tile. You're not filling in anything. You're putting out. You might get 2, right?
Depends on the shakeup,
But you
yeah.
could get.
You?
You'll probably get 2.
you have a giant board. So by the time that it comes, even if you're the 4th player, by the time it comes around to you, unless you've really screwed everything up, like your board's way open, you can do whatever you want.
I agree.
Yeah.
On round 1, but when it goes around twice, person who goes first has turns 1 and 5. They have a bigger, more open board. Person who goes 4th and 8th, that 8th turn, the board's going to be much more filled up.
It will be much more filled up, and you will have times where you go, perfect. That's the exact color that I wanted. There's lots of it. I just can't fit it somewhere. I think that is, for me, what kind of disappoints me is that kind of quickly in the game, you see like a great array of cubes in the middle. And you're like, well, I can't actually take it. There's not really a good place to fit it.
That's interesting. So I like the choice in this of, am I going to take fewer cubes because they fit exactly where I want, or am I going to take more cubes because more cubes seems better, right? You can fill in more of those rows and columns, you complete more and flip over those extra point tiles.
Sure.
And like you said, almost everything's worth points, so if I take more cubes, it should just be worth points, but then it's not if it's not in the right area.
Right.
So I think that I enjoy the decisions on those given turns because I could be first player, it could be the 5th turn of the game. and I could be like, oh, well, I already decided I'm doing blues, and now all these roads came out. I might as well take these, even if it's not as many as maybe reds. And so I like those decisions from the beginning.
I like it more towards the end, like you say, because it is that I'm hoping that cube is left as it comes around. Now, there is the scoring has to get in your head. You know, some of it makes sense. I think the roads make sense and all that. The whole thing about parks like to be next to factories always made me chuckle. I'm like, that's where kids like to play.
Well, I think the thematic reasoning for that is it makes factories nicer by having a park by them.
I guess that makes sense.
It makes it just less ugly straight up. Like, that's the industrial district.
Yeah, no one goes
Don't
there.
go there.
But it is very much anti every other Civ
It
building
is.
game. You usually want parks away from factories.
You want to make the houses or something. But knowing those, I think it is fun towards the later rounds. So for me, it's a bit of a slow build. At the beginning, you have no idea what you're doing. You take whatever's left, or whatever's the most cubes.
Well, on the opposite side of the board, the parks want to be by water and homes.
Oh,
So it's
see.
fancier.
Okay.
Right, the beachfront
Yeah.
ones, and those can score up to 3 points if you can do that. And
Right.
that's kind of like Tom said, like that's the most exciting thing you could accomplish is like 3 points. Anyway, but I do like that the last 3 rounds of the game have the non-first player advantage rule.
I agree
Yeah.
on that. That's good,
Yeah.
because otherwise you'd really get messed over.
Oh, you
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a very wise choice for this type of game. But I don't know, man. I think that one of my big takeaways from this is that I feel like the game is clever, but I don't get to be clever on my turns. A lot of time it's just kind of taking whichever tiles fits places by the time we're halfway through the game. I would like to really focus on this type of strategy. One too many of those cubes came out. I can't. Or, oh cool, I'm first player and none of those cubes came out, because there's a lot of them in that device. I can't help but feel like you could compare this to kind of a roll and write-ish game, right?
It
But
basically is.
Yeah.
it basically
Yeah.
is, right? And for me, I found that I really prefer the ones that are flip and rights, where you have the deck of cards and you flip them over because the distribution's a little bit more normalized. It's going to be less kooky, where you're like, I'm first player, time to build some roads. No gray cubes whatsoever. Oops.
No
Yeah.
big coops.
Yeah, no gray cubes. Mhm.
We
That's how I
have fought
say
over
God
great
bless you
cubes
in my
a lot.
household. No gray cubes.
I overall, I enjoyed this. I don't think it was amazing. I don't think it blew any other of these city builder games out of the park. So it's very like, this was good. I enjoyed it. I think I got more dopamine hits than Chris did, so maybe I'm just more clever than you.
I think
Very
so.
possible.
Oh, stay out of this one.
Yeah, I'm going to stay. No comment from this side.
No, I do agree though. At the very end, it does. There are those turns where you're like, I can literally take nothing, or I can take almost nothing except this one thing that actually messes up, because now I have to put a red next to all my reds that were not touching, and now suddenly they're all touching and they were worth 10. Now they're worth 2. So like there are those moments that I find frustrating, but I think overall I enjoyed it.
So, I'm giving this game a bonus point because the device is cool.
Right?
I would normally give it a 5, but I'm giving it a 6.
Okay.
Because I do like doing the device. But I have a lot of things. The game is really short, which seems like a good thing. I mean, normally we complain when games go too long. I just don't feel like the game is long enough for me to do interesting things. The theme completely disappears. I'm putting reds next to, with the exception maybe the roads work.
Right.
I don't think the game is particularly pretty. In fact, I would say it's not very nice looking. It just kind of blurs together, and it feels super abstract, besides all the other little problems. And this is a weird negative against this game, but I'm actually a little annoyed by the symmetry of it. I don't know that I love that everyone's board is rotated the same way. I think it'd be interesting if they weren't.
I do wonder why
Yeah,
they make such a big deal about that.
They do.
I
It's
agree.
like, get all the stuff in the same, but I'm like, but we're picking different colors anyway, so
Right.
who cares?
It's because of the orientation. You always select according to your orientation around the cubes, right? So I get the why.
No,
It's so
I
that
get the
everyone
why
has
of
the same.
No, I get why we do the board the same. I don't get why the bonus tiles need to be the same. Why can't the bonus tiles all be
different?
facing me?
Oh, you're
Yeah.
not talking about the fact that they have to be on the north and east side, whether that's upside down for you or
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
I mean, we're putting different stuff in there. I just, again,
Most games have symmetric setup like that for bonuses, right?
I've never seen one that's this symmetric. I think that's the thing, is it's almost confusing in the rule book because it's so specific. They're like cardinal northwest, you know.
and again, I get that. In fact, I like that about games when they, because I've recently played a game where 2 players basically had to have their board upside down. And that was annoying. I was like, are you kidding me? You didn't make the board so that or you flip it so that it's the other way on the other side.
Yeah.
This game, Shake That City, to me, again, and I don't dislike playing it, which is why I get a 6, and I do like pressing the cube thing. So, again, that gives me bonus. But this is one of those games that feels so streamlined that they took all the fun out of it. Like, I can't say, there's nothing that's complicated. There's nothing. They're like, we got this down. We sheared off stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you also took off the cool logo and stuff from the car that made it look neat. And so that's why I'm that way. What about you?
I'm also giving this one a 6. Like you said, it's a little boost because I think that mechanically that device is cool and it works very well.
I want to use it in another game somehow.
And I do, generally speaking, enjoy city building stuff, right? Those tropes of these things want to be next to each other, don't clump up too many reds together, don't negate these points by doing this. I like those puzzles, but for me, it's a little bit repetitive, and like I said, I lack the moments where I get to feel clever. Like, I am shocked that there's not like you get 2 tokens at the start of the game, and you can use them on any round to rotate the tiles that you pick. You have a red like this, you really want them in a different direction.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there's not just something like that. You only get 2 per game, so don't waste them, but you have them, and it lets you do more clever things. That's what this game is lacking.
So when
for
that
me.
AEG is like, promo for the game.
Yeah.
But those types of moments is what I'm missing. So it's a 6. It's not a bad game. I think I maybe have come across pretty negative in this review. But I feel like the good points of it are so obvious if you enjoy city building, but those negatives are what kind of stood out for me. So it's a 6. It's still not bad.
All right. Well, I'm a simple man, and that shaker's a lot of fun. Up and down that. But now, beside that, I do love city building games. I will say I wish there was more of the look how clever I am, but I think it's compensated in the back that at the end, sometimes you get really lucky, and that feels just as good. You're like, wow, that slides right in there. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but I think the fact that it's a...
And then you feel bad.
You feel really bad because you just got whooped, and you're counting. You're like, you know what? I'm going to hope that it's going to show up. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. If this was a 2-hour game, that would really irritate me. The fact that it's about a 30-minute game, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, I'm okay with that. So I'm coming in at a 7 for this because I do like it. There are other city building games I like more. I do think the gimmick in this is something that people will gravitate to. I think the rules sometimes get them thinking, wait, what? The scoring is kind of tedious, but I do think without the shaker, of course, it would be far lower. But yeah, so I'm going at a 7.
It'd be a 3.
It really
The shaker does it. The shaker's shaking it. I'm going to give this a 7.5. I really like the time frame. I feel like, one, the shaker makes that possible because you're not sitting there rolling dice, organizing, laying them out, flipping over cards, whatever. You're literally just done. Like, that's the turn. So I think that makes it quick and simple. It's interesting, Tom, that you said that you feel like they pulled everything, like they streamlined it too much. And I could see that maybe a little bit, that adding in a player power, adding in some sort of a special effect could be fun. But they also do have the 2 sides of the board, and they have the little construction tokens that you have to remove before you can put stuff in. And if you're going to win the game, you have to remove all the construction tokens. They have those options. So I feel like there's enough variability in there. Not that it makes it a new game, but that instead it can keep you feeling a little more fresh as you go back to play it again. Changing the way a couple things score on the back side versus the front side of the board. Like, there's little changes. They're not much. But I feel like they make a difference. So overall, I think that it's fun. It's a good city builder game, and it's perfect at that 20-minute mark. And I think that is what does it for me.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Shake That City. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Earthquake. They shake cities.
They do.
Rah!